Jesus can't understand how anybody could have heard what he's been doing, having heard eyewitnesses' accounts, and not believe. And this man has brought his son to those who were supposed to be able to help him, and they were unable for whatever reason. Like a parent today who may have taken their child to a number of doctors, none of whom have been able to find the diagnosis that would allow them to assist them, or after having found the diagnosis, can't find the proper treatment. And after having found the proper treatment, it's not working as well or as fast as the parents hope that it should. The daddy is frustrated. If you are able, then heal him. And Jesus yells back, what do you mean if I'm able? You almost want to hear him saying, I'm the Son of God. I've healed plenty of people. I can do whatever it is that I want to do. Who are you to question me? And the father yells back, I'm his father. I've had to stand by as this demon has plunged my child into danger after danger after danger. All I want is for my son to be well. An exchange, a heated exchange between these two men. When Jesus saw that a crowd came running together, he rebuked the unclean spirit. You spirit that keeps this boy from speaking and hearing, I command you to come out of him and never enter into him again. After crying out and convulsing him terribly, it came out, and the boy was like a corpse, so that most of the crowd thought that he had died. But Jesus took him by the hand and lifted him up, and the boy was able to stand. And the disciples stood there, not knowing what to do. I also love movies, although I haven't seen any movies in the theater in a long time. I get caught. I'm a creature of habit, and there's a few movies that I just absolutely love. I just can't get enough of. And one of those is A Few Good Men. Now, I'll be careful. I've known preachers to talk about movies in the service, and people hadn't seen them in a long time or never seen them. They go see them, and then the preacher gets in trouble. There's some really harsh language in A Few Good Men. So if you've never seen it, don't necessarily go out and get it and watch it. But if you can handle that, it's okay. I'm going to quote something that's perfectly clean in church this morning, but don't run out and go watch it unless you're okay with that kind of stuff. You know, Tom Cruise plays this young, cocky lawyer in the Navy, and his daddy had been Attorney General, and you know, one of my favorite lines is they're going down to Gitmo to visit these prisoners, and he said, "We got to get on a boat." Nobody said anything about a boat. To which man says, "You're in the Navy, Kathy. What's wrong with you?" They're trying to defend two men accused of murder, and Demi Moore's character is just this wide-eyed Pollyanna who wants to make all the world right. Kathy's this kind of cocky, arrogant kid who just, has a real cynical view of things. She yells at him, "Do you believe they have a case?" She's asking him, "Do you believe their story?" To which he responds, "It doesn't matter what I believe. It only matters what I can prove." It doesn't matter what I believe. It only matters what I can prove. It doesn't matter what I believe. I can tell you every Sunday from now on what I believe. Somewhere along the way, through the text and bringing it to life and to see differences in other people's lives, somewhere along the way, we together have got to prove it to ourselves and others that they too might believe. Because at the end of the day, if we just keep what we believe to ourselves and it's shut up inside of us and we stay shut up in a room, it doesn't make a difference. Somehow, some way, 2,000 years removed from a scene where people had seen Jesus heal somebody and still didn't believe, we've got to recreate that scene in ways today in the city of Atlanta and beyond so that we might prove who Jesus is and why we should believe in him. Y'all have seen Gary Larson's The Far Side? the cartoons, and he uses animals and stuff to make funny points. And one time, Gary Larson did a roundtable discussion about his cartoons, and they were asking him all things. How do you come up with these ideas? And he was answering the questions. How is it that you go about doing these things? And he's laughing. And they said, what are some of the mail you get? He said that one time he did a cartoon, and there was a young mosquito who was out of a job, and this young mosquito happens to be male, and he goes to fill out a job application, and it says skills, and the mosquito writes sucking blood. And Gary Larson said he gets all this email and all this correspondence writing to him about the fact that it's only the female mosquito that actually sucks blood. And Gary Larson found it quite funny that no one ever suggested that mosquitoes couldn't talk or wear a suit or fill out a job application. Well, all those people in church aren't anything but a bunch of hypocrites. And, I had a relative that was sick, and we prayed and they died. I was without a job for months, and no one came to help. There's all these things that are working against us in the world as we try to prove that Jesus lives and that Jesus can heal and Jesus can make a difference in people's lives. The proof, unfortunately, the preponderance of the evidence obviously too frequently tips the scales in the other direction. We've got a lot of work to fill up that other hand, to move from the preponderance of the evidence being on the other side, to moving people to that point of believing beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, I've also talked a lot about what's fair. And people talk a lot about fairness and equity and justice. I got news for you today. I'm glad that God is not fair. God's not fair, and I'm glad. Do you want to know why God's not fair? Because Jesus never did a thing wrong. Not a thing. He was perfect. Yet he was tried and convicted of things that he was accused of that he never did. And he died on a cross. Not because of anything he did, but because of what we did. I don't want God to start acting fairly with me. I don't want justice for me, because I've looked at who I am and what I do, and justice for me would not be a pretty thing. I'm going to be honest with you. There's days that I'm just like the man in this story. I'm just like that little boy's father. In the midst of the chaos of this world, in the midst of the pain that I see all around me, I want to shout to God, I believe, help my unbelief. Help me understand why people hurt and suffer and are sick and dying. But then I look into the eyes of a newborn baby. I look into the eyes of a child who has all the wonder of the world locked up inside. Look into the eyes of an older adult whose life is mostly behind them. But as they talk about their life, their spouse and their children and their grandchildren and their great-grandchildren, you see that glimmer in their eye and that smile in their face. I look around this room this morning and I see those who serve and who teach and who reach out and reach down. And so those days when I want to shout just like the Father, the evidence comes pouring in.